In this video we'll look at how to take measurements of your case to tell the program everything it needs to know to create clips for clip-on straps. And if you're attaching your keyboard directly to the iPad or to your tablet, you don't need to take any additional measurements. The program already knows the sizes of everything and will model your clips perfectly for that purpose. So here we are talking strictly about if you have your tablet in a case, what kind of measurements do you need? Well, there are about 3 of them. One of them is how wide is your case, because the clips are going to fit on either side of this case, and we want them to be long enough to reach into where the keyguard is. The second one will be how thick is your case, so that we know what kind of gap to put in the clip. And the close to the last one will be what is the distance from the edge of your case down to the surface of the tablet, down to the glass of the tablet. So let's start with how you can easily measure the width of your case fairly accurately. And what you need to do is get a piece of paper, and if your tablet is fairly wide you may need to tape a couple of pieces of paper together. But get a piece of paper, get a couple of rulers that have metric markings on them, and then get something kind of blocky that has an edge that is 90 degrees and has a nice sharp edge to it. So if you already have an easy measurement tool, that'll work perfectly. As an alternative, look around your house, look around your office, see if you can find something similar. So this coffee container here also has a nice sharp 90-degree turn to it and a sharp edge. The sharp edge is important so that it rests completely down on the surface of the paper. There's no rounded edge there. What we're going to do is we're going to start by drawing a line along the edge of our blocky sharp object. And then we'll set our object on that line. Then take the case and while pushing down on the blocky object, we'll just push the case up against the edge. And you want your blocky thing here to be wide enough that the case doesn't rock as it's sitting against it. It can sit nice and firmly. So now that it's pushed up against it, we can lift this thing, put it on the opposite side while holding down the tablet, push it tightly up against the edge, hold it down, and remove the tablet. Now take our marker again, our nice sharp pencil or pen, and make another line. These 2 lines now become the way we're going to measure the width of the tablet in the case. And we'll just take our measuring tool, our ruler, and measure the distance between those 2 lines. In this case it looks to be, I'm going to say 230 millimeters. So that's the first one, first measurement, 230 millimeters wide. Now we need to get the thickness of the case, and probably the best way to do that is lay the case on its face. Take one ruler, lay it across the top. And what you should look for in choosing which ruler to use for what purpose is, does the 0 for the metric scale lie directly up against the edge of the ruler, or is it like this where there's a gap between the edge of the ruler and the 0? That makes it pretty hard to do these absolute measurements if there's a gap like that. So I just reserve this one for becoming a flat surface. Then we're going to put this other ruler with the 0 down and place it up against the edge of this ruler or behind it or whatever is easiest to see. And you're going to orient yourself so that you're looking nice and flat at the ruler. And you want to measure to the underside of the ruler you've laid across the back of the case. How high does it come up from that point? From the base, from the paper, all the way to that point. And I'll show you another picture with a better angle on that. And the last measurement for most cases is just the distance from the top edge of the case down to the glass. So we'll use our ruler again to sit on top. That represents the height of the outside of the case, and we'll put our other ruler with the measured at the 0 right at the edge against the glass, and we'll measure from the glass up to the underside of our flat ruler. And again, I'll show you another picture hopefully that has a better angle on that, but you can kind of orient your head so you can see those. That will be the distance from the edge of the case down to the glass. Now most cases, or like this case, the distance from the edge of the case to the opening is the same whether it's the left side or the right side. But you may on occasion come across a case where that's not true. Probably the most obvious one, and you'll have to forgive my pretend app screen here. One of the most obvious ones is this life-proof case where the distance on this side from the left side to the opening is much smaller than the distance from the right side to the opening. In that instance, what we're going to do is we're just going to measure the left side, and the program will figure out everything else. So how do you measure it? Well, I'll say also that this OtterBox, the same thing is true, but it's harder to see here that the distance on the left from the left outer edge to the opening in the case is just slightly smaller than the right side. But when you discover something like that, and it may be that you don't discover it until you print a couple of clips that are assuming that the distance is equal and they don't fit properly, one's too long and the other's too short, the way you are going to measure this now is you take your same tool for marking the outside of the case, and now you're going to hold your metric ruler up to that and basically just, let me slide this over, just sight down as best you can, or you can bring another ruler in and slide it over to the edge of the opening and use this to judge the distance from the outside of the case to the opening. And here in this example, it's about 15 millimeters. The other side is about 17. That's why we see the clips don't seem to fit right if they're the same length. So we'll hold that last one maybe till you discover that the clips don't fit properly. But all of those measurements can come into play when designing your clips.